In the busy streets of New York City, in 1881, a man eludes another. He finally walks into a building, looking nervous. He pays more money inside to send an express telegraph. The telegraph is received by a young man, who is urged to act quickly to save his uncle. When the young guy arrives, at his uncle John Carter's large estate, a lawyer informs him that the uncle passed away unexpectedly, and left everything to the young man. He gives an ancient diary to the young man, Edgar Rice Burroughs. After the lawyer leaves, the young man starts reading. After the Civil War, the story begins in Arizona. John Carter, a decorated military captain in the Confederate Army, is searching for gold. He doesn't seem to be well liked by the community. Carter is under pressure from Colonel Powell of the cavalry, to join the fight against the Apache. After multiple fruitless attempts to break out, Carter finally gives up, and uses Colonel Powell's horse to fool a jail guard, knock him unconscious, and leave Fort Grant. Powell and the remaining cavalry members start to pursue, but are forced to stop when they discover that Carter is with an Apache war band on a horseback. Tension gets worse by a language barrier, and both sides are armed and wary. A gunfight breaks out shortly after. When Carter gets the chance to escape, Colonel Powell gets shot, and Carter goes back to get the wounded man. The two make their way in a small cave under a box canyon. When the Apache notice something on the rock above the cave, they move swiftly backward. Feeling perplexed, Carter goes back to the spot where the Apache was standing, and discovers the symbol of a spider on the rock face. He leaves Powell by the entrance, and goes further into the cave for more exploration. Carter discovers a room with odd marks there, with gold-lined walls and a ceiling. He is so entranced that he misses the man who appears behind him, and Powell is almost too late to give a warning. The stranger appears to be a bald man with a knife who is wearing a shiny robe and appeared out of nowhere. Carter kills the bald stranger during their battle, and discovers he has taken out a blue glowing necklace. Carter picks it up and says what he heard the other say. And then all of a sudden he finds himself awake in an unfamiliar landscape. Carter attempts to walk, but stumbles and appears to float. He spends several minutes figuring out how to walk in this odd new world. He has no idea that the gravity on Mars is significantly lower than what he is used to. He walks to a nearby hill, and discovers a nest of eggs developing green six-limbed newborns. He is preparing to leave, when he notices a bunch of green creatures coming. They are mounted on gigantic creatures and armed with rifles, and when they notice Carter, they commence fire until one of them instructs the others to stop. This tall green alien with 4 arms lays down his sword and gun to greet Carter. The two, like the Apaches, manage to provide their names despite the language barrier. Tarkus is the tribe's Jeddak, or leader. Tarkus is aware that Carter is not a native, and insists to jump again. Carter takes the opportunity to charge towards Tarkus' weapons, but he is defeated before he can fight. Tarkus again waves off the remainder of his group, ordering them to leave Carter. They take Carter to their home in the ruins of an ancient city, after gathering the hatchlings and killing the unhatched eggs. At this point, Carter is shocked and unprepared. He wants to return home, and realizes that using the medallion is probably the only option. Unfortunately, Tarkus has found the medallion and is wearing it. Other Tharks in the city treat Carter harshly. They do not understand the kind of creature he is, and because of his limited language skills, they see him as being like a baby or an animal. He is so thrown in with the infants. Carter is assigned to Sola, a female who the other Tharks seem to dislike, especially another female named Sarkoya. She pours a drink into Carter's mouth after he's been washed and placed in a pit with the other babies. He is now able to speak and understand the local language. A humanoid conflict is taking place somewhere further away. They fight in airships with one side blue and the other red. 3 bald individuals emerge from a crimson ship, and approach General Sabdan. They give him a blue mesh gadget, that allows him to fire bolts of energy, but when he tries to shoot the 3 figures, he is thrown backwards. The 3 men laugh. They are Therns, the goddess representatives, and she has decided to support Prince Sabdan of Zedanga in this battle. Matai Shang, the Thern leader, gestures for him to test his sacred new powers. The general fires energy bolts at the enemy ships, and win the battle. Dea Thoris is practicing a speech inside Helium's royal palace. Her father, Tardos Mors, the Jeddak of Helium, arrives. arguing with his entourage. Dea shows out a device that produces a feeble blue light, which she refers to as the ninth light, and claims to be the source of their enemy Zidonga's new might. As the entourage discusses the alternatives, one of them secretly zaps the device, causing it to fail. Tardos recognizes that this power has the potential to level the battlefield. But they do not have the time to conduct additional investigation into this odd blue light. He dismisses the gathering, and tells Dea that she must marry Sabdan to stop the conflict. Dea is upset. She understands that the wedding is unlikely to stop the Zidongan expansion, and that once wedded, she will be unable to continue her studies. Now that he is back in Tharkville, Carter is under the protection of Woola, a large, wide-mouthed, fast-moving animal that follows Carter like a puppy no matter how high or far he jumps. Carter is not happy since he is searching for Tars Tarkas in order to get the medallion back. But Woola manages to catch up to him, and makes enough noise to ruin Carter's intentions. After Carter unexpectedly interrupts a Thark party with a loud shout, Woola storms in. Woola and his owner, Sola, were hit by the angry Tharks. Upset, Carter jumps to stop the beating, accidentally killing a Thark in the process, and showcasing his impressive long-distance jumping prowess. The Tharks consider Carter as a new weapon, but they are furious with Sola for allowing him escape. The next day, they brand her for her mistake in front of Carter, who watches in horror as the Tharks tell her that her next offense would result in death, because she has transgressed so many times that there is no more room on her skin for brands. When a sentry alerts them to a flying craft, the Tharks hide. In the sky, 3 battleships appear, 2 red-flagged, Zidonga, battleships are pursuing a blue-flagged, Helium, battleship. They draw near for hand-to-hand fighting and boarding parties. Carter is given an explanation of the conflict by Tarkus, who is using a telescope to observe. The Zodangans are at war with the Heliumites. Dea Thoris attempts to escape from the ship, but falls and hangs several hundred feet up. Carter realizes she is human and jumps to her help. With his ability to jump large distances, he rescues the girl and begins to defend her, only for her to prove her own fighting abilities. Carter is still able to alter the course of the battle, but the blue helium craft collides. After this scene, Carter receives Dea Thoris as a gift from Tars Tarkas, who also grants him his right arms, or Dotar Soyat. Rival of Tars Tarkas, Talhadus, a warrior with a broken tusk, watches with a sarcastic disapproval. Carter declines the role after being reminded of Powell, but Tarkus informs Carter that he will not be able to save Dea's life if he turns down the offer. Reluctantly, Carter consents, and soon he's pushing away questions about his skills from everyone. Dea wishes she could jump as high as Carter can, but she believes that she and no one else could learn to jump, because of Carter's possibly varying bone density. Tarkus warns Carter against her because he is aware that she is attempting to obtain a new weapon for Helium. All Carter wants is to return home. When he tries to describe his home to Dea, she believes him to be either crazy or lying, because he is describing a place that hasn't been for countless years. She assumes he is a Thurn based on his serious demeanor, which prompts them to talk about astronomy, until realizing that Carter is from Earth, which she refers to as Jasum, but that he is currently on Mars, which she refers to as Barsum. The Therns are probably aware of the answer, if there is a means of transporting people between the planets. Sola attempts to stop Carter and Dea Thoris, but they are able to enter a cave that is claimed to be a temple dedicated to the goddess and her Thurn believers. Dea understands several archaic symbols, but before they can continue, the 3 are taken into jail by the Tharks for entering the temple. Tarkus risks everything to help them all escape, and Carter believes Sola is his daughter. There had to have been a lot of violating the law involved, given that Thark custom dictates that they hatch their young in solitude, and raise them in secret. Sola, Carter, and Dea Thoris travel to the river ISS, to solve the temple puzzle, and retrieve the medallion. Along the trip, Sola informs Carter that Dea Thoris is misguiding them. When confronted, she admits they were on their way to Helium, and Carter is angry, deciding to leave her, because he suspects she was manipulating him to become her new weapon. He dismisses Dea's appeals until she finally admits she has an interest in the war because she is the Helium princess, who is about to be married off to the Zidongan prince and possibly dead. Carter convinced her that he needs time, and that they should visit ISS first. The river serves as a pilgrimage route. Those who have sinned or lived too long seek to end their lives, and reach paradise along its banks. Sola nearly joins them after seeing what appear to be Tharks sailing away in bodies on the ground, but Carter intervenes. A structure like an inverted pyramid is located up the twisting river. The solar system is displayed in bright blue graphics, as Carter and Deathoris walk in. The blue light, which Deathoris discovers is not supernatural but rather the result of machinery, is actually the ninth ray, the same blue ray that she has been studying, and that the enemy has been employing as a weapon. They also understand that Carter most likely transported a copy of himself from Earth to Mars, which is why he appeared on the planet. As instructed by Matai Shang, an army of Tharks advances outside. His intention is to test his ability and to satisfy his curiosity about the foreigner, who is becoming involved in the fights. Carter climbs up and scrambles with the two women. Despite Deathoris' protests, Carter orders the others to leave as the hordes get closer. He remains behind to battle the advancing army, with Will as assistance solely. He remembers the devastation of war after killing a lot of people, and discovering his dead wife and child in a burned-out farmhouse. The battle is about to end when a helium battle cruiser passes overhead, and Carter is finally defeated. Sabdan and Tardos Mors get off the ship. In a gesture of faith, Sabdan hands Deathoris his sword, and proposes marriage. Despite her better judgment, Deathoris refrains from killing him, and commands them to take Carter to Zidanga for medical attention. Carter wakes up in a room under security. He initially believes he is in helium, but the guards in red uniforms scoff. He is thinking about being in enemy territory, when a man in blue clothing walks up, and tells him he is in Zidanga. The man is named Kantos Khan, and he gives the go-ahead to place Carter under more surveillance. When they get close enough, he whispers to Carter to take him hostage, but Carter is too confused. Furious, Kantos guides Carter away from the guards while faking hostage. Both of them jump to a nearby tower. Deathoris is dressed elegantly for her wedding inside. She dismisses everyone in the room after expressing gratitude to Kantos for introducing her to Carter. She wants Carter to fight for her once more. She finally notices the wedding ring on his finger as he declines once more. Deathoris gives him the magic words that would return him to Earth, after realizing that his heart belonged to another lady, but also knowing that she is no longer alive. Guards from Zidanga demand entrance from outside, but when the door opens, Carter is nowhere to be seen. Carter is visible in a ceiling recess as Deathoris and the others depart, but the chamber matron enters the room again before leaving once more. When he leaves, she immobilizes him with a blue ray, before changing into the Thurn leader Matai Shang. Carter is made to follow him, and he tells Carter how the Thurns are managing Mars' destruction. Matai Shang transforms into a Zidangan cop, and leads Carter outside after becoming stuck in a traffic bottleneck caused by the wedding procession. Then, when they witness Deathoris being paraded along a street, Shang transforms into an elderly woman. Matai Shang informs Carter, almost casually, that Deathoris and anybody else, who discovers the ninth ray would be put to death following the marriage. Carter escapes on the light flyer as Willa appears out of nowhere in a blur, successfully disabling Shang's leash. He crashes near Sola after an adrenaline-pumping chase. Realizing he cannot take on the Thurns or the Zidangan troops on his alone, he makes the decision to go back to Tharkville and seek for their assistance. After arriving safely with Sola, Carter is put in jail by the Tharks, where he discovers Tars Tarkus, another prisoner, also imprisoned. Carter is informed by Tarkus that the one-tusked Talhajus overthrew him. When Tarkus finds out that Carter has brought Sola back, he gets angry and would have murdered him, if Carter hadn't been severely injured and battered. The prisoners are then transported to a huge coliseum and forced to fight one, then two, giant white apes. Carter kills the first beast, and then the other after Sola makes a distraction in the spectators. He challenges Talhajus to take on Jeddak while the Tharks applaud. Carter gives him a clean headshot. With an army ready to fight for him, the Jeddak of the Tharks now commands a force. In order to call off the wedding, he guides them back to Zidanga. When they get there, the city is empty because everyone has left to helium. Carter receives an acerbic slap on the head from an unimpressed Tars Tarkus, as they are unlikely to arrive at the wedding in time. Carter calls the airships, but the Tharks decline, so he takes off in a light flyer by himself. He is seen by Zidangan guards as he gets closer, but since he is piloting a Zondangan plane, they believe he is a part of their plan and let him go. Carter rushes in just as the wedding is about to come to an end. While Deathoris is delighted to see him, it's too late because the signal has already been given. When the Zodangans start attacking the Heliumites, Matai Shang and his blue light seem unstoppable again. At that moment, a massive light cruiser also crashes in, and the Tharks jump off to join their leader. They battle the Zodangans by enlisting in the Heliumite army. Carter finds the medallion, but Matai Shang manages to get away. Sab then gets killed by the blue device he loved so much during the battle. Carter asks Dea to marry him after taking Dea under his wing, and realizing that Zodanga is no longer an immediate threat. Helium and Thark are happy when she agrees. Carter leaves the room that evening because he is restless. He throws the medallion into the chasm beneath. Upon his return to the bedroom, the guard expresses gratitude to him, reaches out, seizes him, and transforms into Matai Shang, sending Carter back to the Arizona cave. Carter wakes up bearded, stiff, and covered in dust. The Golden Thern's body have vanished, and the Colonel has turned to a skeleton. Carter's story goes on to say that he spends the next 10 years searching for another medallion, after coming to the conclusion that there must be other Therns on Earth. The Orkneys seem to hold something for him. In order to leave his body behind safely on Earth and depart to Mars, he creates a crypt on his land. Edgar, his nephew, should be trusted to keep him safe, because the Therns are probably going to attack his body soon, maybe even as Edgar is reading the journal. Trapped and unaware that he is being followed, Edgar rushes to investigate the crypt. He unlocks the door and discovers the password after a few stressful moments, but the crypt is empty. Just as a Thern is ready to kill Edgar from behind, he gets shot and dies. Edgar looks back, and sees Carter with a gun outside. Edgar understands that Carter's explanation of having taken a medication that caused him to appear dead is only a ruse to lure a Thern, and give Carter the medallion he needs to return to Dea Thoris. As he makes his way back to his true home on Mars, Carter corrects him and says that Edgar will in fact perform a crucial role, guardian of Carter's body on Earth. Carter steals Thern's medallion, then enters the crypt, lies down, and says the words to get back to Barsoom.